know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We touched down from a higher plane. Why you made it here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfare.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more, and even NFL preseason. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, guys, welcome to the first ever our betting show, the Chief Concerns betting show. So, obviously, if you guys have been following along this week, it's been a really busy week for the channel, doing a lot of stuff. It's the most amount of content we've pushed out. And yeah, it's going to continue all season long. So again, we thank for everyone's support and engagement over the this last week, and it's only going to continue to grow. We Bleacher Report stuff this week, and we're just going to continue to rock. JD may stop by, but yeah. So got myself, Marcus Dash. We have my brother Teja Dash. Today we're going to do a little dive in on betting. So it's going to be a show where we pick the best top 5 bets to build your 5-leg same game parlay for the Chiefs Jaguars game. We just felt that there's so much betting content out there when it comes to NFL, that there's people who don't really cover the team and they talk about bets with that team. And obviously looking at trends, but we know this team probably better than, people who watch the show, watch the channel. We all know the Chiefs. And I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about everybody who's involved in the Chiefs community knows the Chiefs well. So we all know the best ones to go with. And yeah, so before we get into that, on the below, we have Pickett. It's a Pickett sports betting app. It's not a shameless plug here. You guys will actually enjoy this. Link in the description. So pretty much what you guys do is you guys click that link, type in the promo code Chiefs. You'll either get $3 or $100, and you can PayPal that, Venmo that to yourself. And it's a really cool app because it kind of links all your your sports betting. So if you do DraftKings, FanDuel, all that stuff, it literally links all of that. So it shows all of your analytics, all of your trends, how much you bet on a specific team, how much you bet on a specific sport. It tells you all that stuff. So it's a lot of analytics in there. A little too much for me, but it's a nice place to go. And if you do bet on FanDuel and DraftKings, you have one central spot for all that. So again, that's Pickett, promo code Chiefs. It's a really solid one. But anyway, Teja, we're glad to have you on. I know you do the post-game show with us. But yeah, now we got a betting show on the Chief Concerns channel.
Excited.
It's going to be a good one. It's not going to be a long episode. We're going to get right into our top 5 bets for the weekend. I have my 5. I did my little due diligence and my data on why I chose that, and I'm sure Teja did as well. So Teja, let's get into this game this weekend. And we actually have a special guest. We didn't think he was going to pop on, and I think he's going to hop on, but our guy, Jason.
Oh!
What's up, fellas? What's going on? How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Up,
I didn't know you were going to hop in, JD.
Yeah, man. I was moseying on as fast as I could to make sure I got my family, my nephew all put together. So he's doing well. But yeah, man, I kind of figured I'd come out here and learn a little bit more about all of this whole process, and who was a better person to ask than Teja, right?
Hey, hey, here we are.
Yeah. Teja, man, how you been doing, brother?
Good, man. Good to finally meet you through the show. There you go.
Yes, I know it.
It's awesome.
I can't wait to do it in person. When me and Marcus we met, it was so surreal because it's like, wait a minute, hold on. We've never met in person. It was 2 years doing this, on the whole stream and all the, just talking.
Sure.
And it was such a wonderful moment.
It's weird, right? Because you have the facial recognition and that familiarity, but then you don't have the live part, right?
Right. I had to touch his face and man, are you real? Is this?
Yeah.
It was a nice embrace. I remember it was a surreal moment because obviously I was JD. I'm JD's fan, so like seeing him like after 2 years of like becoming friends, going from that fan friendship relationship to like the friendship that we have, it was a crazy cool moment.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
From fanship to friendship.
There you go. So we're gonna go into the 5 bets. It's great to have JD here because JD can actually talk to. You can hear what like the prop bet is that we think is going to happen, and JD can talk about from the player's point of view and the coach's point of view of why he thinks that has legitimacy on Sunday. Teja, I want you to go out with your 5 bets, your 5 props for your same game parlay, and then I'll throw my 5 in there, and we'll see what JD thinks about.
Okay.
About
so 5-5, and then
you go 5, and then JD will point out what he thinks. What he thinks about your bet there.
All right, we'll start with the Jags. Okay, so I like Kirk to have Christian Kirk to have 4 or more catches or 40 plus yards, whatever you can get it at. I just like Kirk this week, pretty much. Whichever you feel comfortable with, maybe both if you want to go nuts. I read that Doug Peterson say that Kirk thrives against man coverage, and guess what coverage we primarily run? After a 1-catch game, I expect him to take an extra effort to get him even more involved. So I'm going to go 4 catches or 40 plus yards, whichever you guys want to do. I'm probably going to go 4 catches though. Number 2, I'm going to say I know the popular Mahomes bet's probably the yardage. I'm going to guess Marcus probably did that, but if not, the one I like 20 yards or more rushing from him. Actually, he ran 6 times for 45 against the Lions. Kind of because he had to. He was taking what he can get. Richardson ran 10 times for 40 yards against Jacksonville last week. And in the regular season versus Jacksonville last year, Mahomes ran 7 for 39. Did not run that much in the playoff game. As you guys remember, he got hurt. So he still ran for 8 yards in that game, even though he was gimpy. So I'm going to go over 20 yards for that one. And then not a lot of stats behind this one. It's more of just I just got a feeling it's going to happen. I'm going to go Sky Moore. I'm going to go either 3 catches or 25 yards. And then I'm going to go 25 yards. It's going to be mine. I think Andy goes right back to his receivers that struggled last week. I don't think he wants to let the discouragement kind of linger along with his receivers. I think he'll go right back to them. I think we'll get him a lot more involved in the short stuff. A few plays at the line of scrimmage, have him have some yak. I think he'll get 25 or more yards on Sunday. I'm going to go. So I went over with Kirk. I'm going to go under 6.5 catches for Ridley. He had 8 last week. So for Vegas to be offering over 6.5 at plus 145 seems a little trappy to me. I think Lawrence spreads it around a little more this week. I think he gets Kirk involved. I think you're going to see other guys catch 3-4 balls each. I just don't think Ridley gets to the same number he got last week, which is 8. So I think he catches personally 6 on the dot. So we'll be sweating for that 7th catch until it doesn't happen. Lastly, I'm going to go away from players. I'll go to just the point total. The actual over-under was 51. Now it's 51.5. I'm going to buy it down to 50.5 and take the over. The only game in the 50s this week that's listed currently. It should scare a lot of people probably. I see either 30 or 21 or a 27-24 game, which would put us right at 50 on the dot.
Interesting.
51 on the dot. Sorry. So I'm going over 50.5. I did a 5-teamer. So to recap, over 50.5, over under, Sky to get 25 receiving or more, Mahomes to run for over 20.5, Kirk to catch 4 balls, Ridley to catch under 6.5. 25 wins you 300.
On the dot, on the nose?
Yeah.
Interesting. Pretty good. I mean, on our show this week, we talked about how we think Evan Ingram was going to be one of the guys to step up from that. So we do think there's going to be a break from that kind of the Calvin Ridley focus. And that probably might be part of the focus on our defense this week is stopping Calvin Ridley and making the other guys step up. But JD, what do you think about some of the numbers that Teja has here for the bets this weekend?
To be honest with you, I think they are pretty good bets. I think you're pretty spot on every single one of them. And you made a great point as far as with Christian Kirk. where he just didn't get a lot of looks. He had 3 targets last week. And so we're talking about Zay Jones, and obviously Calvin Ridley did a tremendous job. But especially against our defense, I think our matchup is going to be more so in the middle. That's where you want to probably attack, is the linebackers and probably the safeties. And, Christian Kirk does a good job of just kind of getting in those windows, those small areas, which I would say Bolton necessarily struggles with. But the way that Spags schemes the defense with Trevor Lawrence, I think those are going to open up the holes right probably in the middle. So Christian Kirk, not saying he's going to have a lot of yards, but he will have a lot of catches, I think. Just kind of, dink and dunks, 6, 7, maybe get a 12-yarder here and there, but nothing explosive. I don't think he's going to do anything other than that. But he's going to be one of the guys they'll probably look at to try to move the chains a little bit this week. So that's a good bet with that one. Let me see the Calvin Ridley under 6. Okay, I definitely
6.5. Sorry,
6.5. Okay,
so
6, which I do believe. I think Spags is going to definitely challenge the corners to get on Calvin a little bit, and a lot of that just has to go into. Look, we know this guy has a lot of talent, and if you're thinking about stopping the Jags, and you got the new machine, the brand new weapon, this is the guy we can't let it beat us. And so I think that's a really, really safe bet. Zay Jones to me is like one of those underrated receivers. As a matter of fact, when he left from the Raiders, I wanted to get him with the Chiefs. I was like, how come nobody's looking at this guy? I mean, seriously, especially when you talked about how talented he was, his work ethic. He seems like a guy that's always ready. He's always available. He's always going to make a play, so he's always stepping up big. So I think, he will probably spin it around a little bit more to, like you said, Ingram, Zay Jones, and Kurt. So, yeah, really probably want to have that many balls. So, yeah, you said 6.5, something like that. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's a pretty good bet. Patrick Mahomes on the rushes, right? You said running over 40 yards. You said over 40?
20.5. So he has to get 21 for you to win.
Okay, so I'm already thinking 40. So I'm like, I thought he was going to do that.
Put that in half.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, watching the game last week, Jags and the Colts, and I seen Richardson was more attacking them toward the outside. He was kind of rushing, and so he was trying to get more out the outside. Patrick is a little bit more methodical in the way that when he's starting to run, he'll take it up the middle. We've seen that, right? In the Super Bowl, he don't mind going up the middle for about 15, 20 yards. And so we know that probably one of the things they're going to do defensively against the Chiefs is, let's go ahead and rush 4, drop 7. Kelce, we probably try to double him up some way. And so that's going to open up a lot of different lanes for Patrick to get out and rush it. So 20 yards is going to be easy for him, I think, in this game. And so I think Patrick, because of maybe the performance last week, I think he's going to have a little bit more spark to do a little bit more, maybe with his legs. He's not going to put himself in harm's way, right? Because we know what happened to him last time. Though we don't want to even talk about that with the whole leg deal. But I think he's going to be a little bit more cognizant of those things happening. So I definitely think he's definitely going to overshoot the 20.5 yards. Correct. And I'm trying to think what was the fourth bet?
Sky Moore 25 receiving yards.
Okay, Sky Moore. That's the one. That's the number. But to be honest with you, I'll tell you what. I think Sky Moore realizes that, okay, Kadarius Toney, they talking about him. MVS asked where was he at during the game? How come we're not getting Rashee Rice and Justin Ross more involved in the game? I do believe Sky Moore is saying, look, this is my time to make my debut. Okay. I need to do a little bit more out here offensively to get open. So I think Sky Moore is going to have actually a big game in this. And I think I talked to this last week to Marcus about how a guy could be in his second year playing, and he hasn't quite fit, hasn't been comfortable with what he's doing. And I think he's the onus hadn't necessarily been on him. It's like, Sky Moore is kind of like an afterthought, right? It's always somebody else. Then Sky Moore comes in. Maybe he's the third guy coming in. Now Kelce comes in. Now he's the fourth option. But I think Sky Moore is going to have a pretty big game this week. And I think right now, if he wants to become, what we think he's going to be, this would be a great defense to do it against. This would be a great week, the second week, to be a guy that you can rely on, especially during this game. So that's a good bet. I think, I think Sky Moore, he'll definitely do that.
Because of the Sky Moore thing, too, I mean, 3 targets, 0 catches last week, and then the over-under for him this week is 3.5, which seems pretty high to make his over-under more than the targets he got last week. So it's like it sounds like they definitely want you to go under that. That's which I kind of gravitate toward. The last one was the over-under for the actual game, 50.5.
Okay, so 50.5. So I have actually at 59. I have it the highest scoring game right now, and I got the game being 31-28, and the Chiefs taking it 31-28. I think it's going to be a shootout, to be honest with you. And I think, with what you were talking about, like, Kirk getting a lot of catches, same thing with Sky Moore, a little bit offensively for both teams. Okay, I said this last week or this week. I'm, days and weeks is all just running through me right now. But to be honest with you, I've said that Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence, I think, in my estimation, are the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. That's where I'm at. And so I think I love Trevor Lawrence's his talent. I think he's coming along on his own. And I think because we keep, using Joe Burrow and then Josh Allen and everybody else, and he's another one that's kind of afterthought. Well, Trevor Lawrence, he's going to get there, but I think right now he's kind of sunshine's. He's ready. He's ready.
Yes.
He's got some great weapons around him. He does. So I would say that probably, to be honest with you, as far as complete package with guys that you have, Jacksonville has it. You got a star running back, a good tight end, and you got 3 wide receivers that are solid. Seriously. So I don't know what any other team can boast that at this moment. Can you think of one? I mean, just off your head, like, oh, okay. I mean, really, like, and I'm talking about all positions, right? I mean, Buffalo, you can say, oh, you have this thing, right? Cincinnati kind of has, a couple of guys here, maybe a running back, but then, where's the tight end? So I'm talking about just the whole, the whole.
Yeah, I think San Fran rivals that, but they're a team everyone's talking about going winning the Super Bowl or being in the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Yeah, San Fran, yeah, definitely.
But
definitely.
I wouldn't put Purdy and Trevor Lawrence on the same level.
No. We got to pump our brakes a little bit on that one for sure. But
I'd say San Fran's up there. I mean, Cincy, the weakest part of that is they got 3 good, really awesome receivers, but I think Irv Smith's are starting tight end, so I'd go Ingram over him. So I mean, Jacksonville has top like 3 weapons, I'd say, from running back to tight end.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I do think Tank Bigsby is going to be pretty solid too. A lot of people are buying his stock big time as far as the kind of the smash to Etienne's dash between the two of them.
Yeah.
He got 7 carries last week too. So
he was one I was looking at as far as when I was doing one of my prop bets. But that's so Teja, that was 25 to put 300.
Yes,
25 to win. Okay, so with my 5.
Hold on, so Teja asked me. So how much I had to put down? How much is it?
It's 25 to win. 25 to win 300.
Okay, 25 to win 300. Okay, and then I double out. I got it. Right there now. Gotcha.
We'll see if JD likes my 5, my parlay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do a little face off.
Yeah.
JD, you have to say at the end which one you think is going to hit between the two of them.
I will.
No, like some brotherly competition right here.
Sure. Why not?
Okay, so my 5, I'll begin. So right off the gate, I got KC money line. I think everyone, for the fact that we were a favorite on the road is begging people to take Jacksonville this week to give Jacksonville the points. And I'm doing money line. I'm just taking it straight up. I'm not dealing with the spread. The spread. I'm not doing two. It started off at 2.5. Now it's 3.5 in some sports books. I'm just staying away from that. Just going to go with us winning money line. I just think that with the way Jacksonville looked last week, and they're going back home, we're on the road. We look all frazzled last week. Chris Jones is just coming back. A couple days of practice. Travis Kelce coming back from the knee injury. It just seems too weird. I think a lot of the sharps are going to be leaning the KC way in the betting public. I think right now it's kind of split down the middle, so there really is no lean here, even though the spread has jumped. But I go KC money line. So then I go to Patrick Mahomes. So I did a little research today. So I went Patrick Mahomes heavy this week, obviously. So Sunday so I'm going Patrick Mahomes over 3 passing touchdowns on Sunday. Someone brought up a stat earlier that Mahomes following a loss is 13-3 in his career. So following a loss, Mahomes is 13-3. And I looked at those games. Mahomes in those games has a total of 4,467 yards passing, 42 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions in those games. If you average that out, that's about 2.5 touchdowns a game. And then the passing yards, there's about 279 passing yards in those games. One of those games was the Broncos Thursday night game, which he left early in that one. So, like, he didn't have a full body of work in that game, but nonetheless. So I have 3 touchdowns passing in that game, in the game on Sunday for his hitting the over for that. I think that's almost a certainty because I looked at that as well. In the 16 games of the 13-3, 9 of the 16 games he threw 3+ touchdowns. So pretty good. And then the passing, I also have 280. I have him getting over 288 yards passing. That one, when I dived in a little bit to the 16 games, he only eclipsed that 6 times of those 16 games. So that's one more if you're really taking him to have a bounce back from what it looked like on Thursday and the Travis Kelce effect, that he could, in theory, get over 288 passing yards in that one. Also, just to throw a nice little cherry on top of that, Mahomes has only played, so Sunday is his birthday. Mahomes has only played in his birthday one other time, and that was in 2016, where he played La Tech. Not really the Willie Rowe School. It's not really, it's not Jacksonville Jaguars by any means, but in that game, he had 507 yards, total yards, and 6 touchdowns in a 59-45 win over La Tech. Take for what you will, but that's just a fun little nugget of him playing on his birthday. And then next, I'll go for my 4th leg here. I have Isaiah Pacheco, 13 receiving yards, having him over that. Last week, he had 4 catches for 31 yards. And if you just look at overall, all throughout preseason, and obviously we're taking it because we're trying to get him more acclimated to the offense. He looked really good catching the ball, which I was surprised. Didn't really catch much in college, so that was always something JD and I always said, like, oh, man, it's a good thing we have McKinnon because Pacheco, I don't know if he's much of a receiving back. He looked pretty good last week, and we were checking down an awful lot. If you look at the preseason, we were checking down a lot to CEH and a lot to McKinnon and a lot to our backs in preseason. I don't know if that's something we're adding more of this year. And I remember when Denaric Prince was getting a lot of love, we were having him running a lot of routes at the backfield. And then finally, when Pacheco came back, because he was running the ones for the first couple of days of training camp, then when Pacheco came back, he was starting to catch the ball a lot during training camp. So anyway, we get him involved as far as, I think, 13 yards receiving. I don't think it's asking for a lot. I think that's 1 or 2 balls there. And then, okay, so that's the 4th leg. I'm going to the 5th leg. I'm going Travis Etienne over 52 yards rushing. This one, I know Chris Jones is back, but Chris Jones, although he is a great defensive tackle, run stopping is not his MO. That's not his thing. He does it all, but that's not really his MO. So I don't think him coming back is really going to put a stop into these offenses running the ball against us. It'll help for sure. Demont 74 yards rushing last week, and Gibbs 42 yards rushing last week. Looking back to the last 5 games we've had, going back to last year, I know it's week 2. It's tough to kind of get a trend look at things, but so I'm looking back at last year, how we ended. 5 of the 4 running backs that we played, or no, 3 of the 4 running backs that we played ran for over 58 yards rushing. If you go back to it, Josh Jacobs was the only one who did not eclipse the 58-yard mark. If you look back at the last 4 games, going back to last year's regular season. And also looking at Travis Etienne, going back to last year, he's eclipsed 52 yards over the last 4 of the last 5 times, going back to last year's regular season. So this is over 52 yards rushing for Travis Etienne here. 57 yards. And then lastly, that's my 5th one. Yeah. That's my 5th one. And then that's 25 to win at $337. So let me look at that again. KC money line. Patrick Mahomes over 3 passing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes over 288 yards passing. Pacheco over 13 yards receiving. And Travis Etienne over 57 yards rushing.
288, was that like the actual line, or did you alt that?
I believe that was one of the alt lines that you could get it at.
Okay,
Obviously, depending on every sport book, people who are listening to this, they know. Depending on the sport book, you can get that line down. On
yeah. Because I saw Mahomes at 300 listed.
Where I was looking at it, actually wasn't even that like it was 288 was minus. It's gone down now. It's 286 now. Minus 182 at the time. Like
okay,
yeah. So, JD, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, okay. Those are a little bit more difficult bets to make that I'm looking at. I'm just. I tell you what, I was talking to my buddies today. Some of the guys I told you that's on the text. When we talk about these teams, and we first game that we had your first bet with Kelce and Jags and the money wise, we were wondering who was going to be the first team to go 0-2. Okay, and that was between Chiefs and Jags, Bengals and Raiders, Bills and Ravens. Okay, and so we all just kind of made our thoughts of where we were at. And I said, look, I think to be honest with you, I think it's going to be the Bills. Bills going to be the first one to go 0-2 of all the teams. I think with the Ravens. J.K. Dobbins obviously with that injury is going to be somewhat to help him, but I don't know what Josh Allen. He looks a little bit. I don't know. He just looked real uneasy, and so maybe he'll put it together. But I think they might be the first team. Then of course I think the Raiders and Cincinnati, the Bengals. I think Cincinnati will win against them. But definitely the road team being the Chiefs. I think we put this thing together, and it's beautiful to see 95 and 87 back out there on the field. Okay, and I think that's going to be one of those things. They're going to be so amped to go out there to go play, to go make plays, just for everybody. These are the leaders of the Chiefs besides PM15, and so we know these guys hated watching from their respective seats, wherever it might have been. Okay, they hated seeing it, but I do believe that it's a great bet for Kansas City to beat the Jags down there. I really do. For my estimation, these guys are going to be ready. I think it's another one of those things with Reed and Peterson getting back together. I think Reed just got the nod, right? He's like, I'm just going to talk to my Padawan a little bit and like, hey, your time's not quite yet there, right? You got to wait till I leave before you decide to unseat the big dog. So I think that's a great bet with that one. Okay, PM15 with over 3 touchdowns. Okay, that's it's doable. I definitely believe it's doable.
Three or more. Sorry, JD. Three or more. Right?
Okay, three or more touchdowns. Right, three or more touchdowns.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I said it's going to be a shootout. And I really truly believe that, and I think Patrick is going to get his. He's got his favorite weapon back in Travis Kelce. And no doubt about it, these young guys are going to step up as well as they need to. Okay. They got something to prove. And so I think Patrick's going to definitely get over 3 or more touchdowns this week passing the ball. And I think Pacheco's probably going to run one in, kind of get him going as well. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. That one, 3 or more touchdowns. Absolutely. The passing yards, 280. Now, this is what you were talking about, the birthday, right? The birthday game you had against La Tech a long time ago. Totally different thing, totally different animal. No doubt with the Jags. I do think he's able to get the 280 yards. I really do. I think he's ready. Like I said, it's going to be a shootout. So based off what I'm saying, being a shootout, 280 yards is definitely doable. I think he'll eclipse that without a doubt. So I think it's a good bet. I really do. Not a problem there. The Pacheco, 13 receiving yards. I think that's pretty easy. Get a screen or something there, gets up the field, runs out. He'll I think it's going to be pretty easy for him to get over 13 yards receiving on that. A little arrow route against, a linebacker, maybe catching something in the flat. Yeah, 13 yards is, you could fall for at least 8 just leaning, catching the football. So I think 13, he can definitely do that. Now, Etienne with the yards. Okay. Now, this is the one I'm like, I know you made the case against Chris. Okay. But I believe Spags is knowingly saying they're going to try to run the ball down our throats. To me, I think that's their best bet. Our strength is going to be with our corners, our safeties in the passing game. We got to go ahead and get after the football. And so we're going to bring pressure all the time. So it's not going to be something easy. We're constantly bringing pressure. I think Spags is going to bring pressure all the time. So Etienne, I don't think it's going to, start getting loose on us at all. They may try to establish something probably before the half and toward the end of the game. But this, like I said, when it comes to the point where shooting, a shootout, going to be pushing the ball down the field. They may give a couple, carries to Etienne. I just don't see him having over, 58 yards?
Yeah, 57.
57.
Yeah,
57 yards. That's the tough one for me. And you brought up Tank, and I think Tank is one of those guys who's going to be complimentary that he might take a couple of those away from Etienne. Okay. So Etienne is a good, he's a good back and catch the ball out of the backfield too. I mean, he's got a lot of talent to do a lot of different things. But I think Etienne trying to get the 57 yards is going to be a little tough. It's going to be a little tough. But hey, man, we don't know. We don't know. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. And go ahead, Teja.
I was just going to say ATN went over that once, and then he went under that once because we played him twice last year. He had 62 against us one time and then 45 in the other one.
Okay. All right.
So
was it the 45? Was that the playoff game?
45 was the regular season game.
Okay. All right.
I mean, 10. He only had 10 carries for 62 in the playoff game. Good game. And then 11 for 45 the other time. So they really didn't commit to running them.
It seems like they're based on one game sample size, right? But he had 18 carries last week. I think that would have been up the tops for him last year, I think, because he wasn't getting the ball that much beginning of the season. They were kind of going hard with Robinson.
Yeah, he only went over 18 4 times last year during the season.
Wow.
5 if you count the playoffs.
He in watching the game, he kind of wiggled out of a couple of tackles to kind of get those yards too. That was the thing about it. It was just kind of bad tackling on the coach's part, not getting him down on the ground. So there was a couple of times they kind of stuffed him a little bit. He was kind of in the pile, and then all of a sudden he breaks out. So that's the thing. It's going to be key for these guys to wrap up against a guy like Etienne, no doubt about it. And I think Spags will have these guys kind of hum it. I think he'll have a hum, especially for this game. So, and I think something has to be said about this too. I know everybody was kind of making a point about holding Detroit to 14 points. Okay. And of course, when you have, those guys as talented as running backs as you have up there, I think it's going to be another challenge, right? And now having Chris inside, I don't think Chris is just going to give up. Matter of fact, if anything, man, maybe he'll be in a little bit of shape. He'll decide to stay on the line of scrimmage and take double teams and not move anywhere. Okay. Maybe he's not getting up the field as much. So maybe he'll take a little bit off as far as with the push up the middle. So maybe he's doing a little bit more of that, trying to anchor a little bit more on the defense side. His pass rushing legs ain't quite there just quite yet. Okay. The first thing you try to get back in camp is somebody pushing against you. That's the first thing you try to do. And so it's that's gonna be hard for Etienne to get. So that's what I think.
What do you make? Because I've seen some people talk about our kind of tackling last week. Because Gibbs was supposed to be known for a guy who was going to be smaller, slighter guy who's not going to be able to break tackles at the next level. I don't know if that's just what he's going to be at this next level, but he made some of the tackles last week. He was kind of throwing guys off him when I thought he was going to have a hard time with that. And Montgomery's a big back, so I knew that was going to be no problem for him. But Gibbs surprised me how physical he was running last week, and I don't know if it was our guys not being able to wrap up. I know Snead missed a few tackles last week.
Yeah. So Snead, he coming back, man. He's still rusty, but I think a couple of it was poor tackling. He was another one kind of spun out of one right and got up the sideline. And other than that, I don't think he had anything that was really spectacular. I just don't. I thought he had, the thing is, I got him on fantasy. That's why I was like, he didn't really do too much. But it'll take some time to get acclimated into the league doing it, what he can do. But Etienne is without a doubt a guy that is, you got to make sure and account for him. But I think a lot of it had to do with Spags bringing that pressure. I think a lot of it had to do with this, fitting up, get into the gaps, make sure nobody gets on the outside of you. And Etienne does a good job of bouncing it outside, running off tackle a little bit. I think Spags understands that. And I think that's what you have to do. With a team like Jacksonville, you got to put pressure on these guys. You have to. You can't let Trevor Lawrence back there, use his feet, and sit back and pat the ball. So I think Spags is going to bring the whole kitchen sink to him again this week. Why not?
Yeah. So of the two, JD, you think Teja's is more doable than mine?
So out of the two, I think Teja is a much safer side of betting than yours, Marcus. Not saying that yours is bad. I just think if I had to put my money on, the ones I'm putting my money on, I'm gonna have to go with Teja. But what I will do, I'm gonna put my money on both of them. How about that? So I just but I do like Teja's a little bit more. I think Teja's
Yeah, that makes sense, JD. I usually play with fire more so than Teja when it comes to
I'm more of a safe better.
Okay.
A safe gambler, if you can be that, I guess.
Yeah.
I was surprised you went receiving with Pacheco. I thought you were going to go. I was very close to going carries with Pacheco.
I didn't even see his carries one.
So if someone has like hundreds of thousands to throw down on a bet that's like definitely going to hit, 8+ carries is minus 260. Since he took over rushing for the Chiefs, which is against Jacksonville, by the way, was his first breakout game last year, hasn't had less than 8 once.
It's 8.
Really?
It's over under 8.5.
No. Well, the actual line's 11.5. But I'm saying if you want like a no questions asked, he hasn't gone below this number once since he's had the job. 8 or more carries is minus 260.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, obviously you would, need to put a lot on that to make that worth your while. But if you're one of those people that just have the cash to burn, you want to just throw like a couple stacks on a bet and just get some money back on it. He's gotten 8 twice since then, but nothing below that.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be his second full game back, and what he had 7 last week or 8? 8.
Yeah, he did last week. Okay.
Yeah.
How's he? Because I didn't see him on the injury report either, and that was another thing. I don't know. He had like a little ding and kind of, making sure it wasn't nothing that was lingering for him into this game. They were thinking like, you know what? Maybe we want to be able to use. I love seeing McKinnon. McKinnon is one of those guys that I love. Like, look, you got to use a guy that's, is a slasher, very crafty of getting around guys, a veteran presence, what he, the things he can do against the Jacksonville defense. I mean, he's seen it all. And so I like kind of leaning on him if Pacheco's not getting the hard yards for you, right? And so, but no, that's a pretty good bet.
I thought we were going to see McKinnon more last week, to be honest with you. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, me too.
And Pacheco got Jacksonville pretty good both times last year. 16 for 82 the first game, 12 for 95 the second game. So,
JD, were you surprised? Just talking about, because I had Pacheco's receiving yards over 13 or 13 plus. Are you surprised by his receiving ability? Because that's something we talked about when we drafted him. Was like, okay, he didn't really do that much in Rutgers. They didn't really throw the ball out of the backfield a lot. And then, we had McKinnon in this offseason. We brought in Prince to be that pass catcher. And obviously he's on practice squad now. But are you surprised to see how, and he looks good catching the ball too. It's like fluid. I mean, what do you think? Are you surprised by his receiving ability?
No, not at all. I think it's more so just kind of your offensive scheme. It depends on who your coordinator is, what his philosophy is, as far as with the ball, what you want to do with it. Pacheco's a guy that can run the football a lot. So why not go ahead and hand the ball off to him, right? To get up the, get off tackle. So I don't think that's what it was at all. And so he was just one of those, he's your workhorse, right? He's just going to hand the ball out to him, let him run 30, 40, 50 times. Okay. And that's what he was good at doing at Rutgers. So I don't think it had anything to do with he couldn't catch the football. It was just more so the offensive scheme they had.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike, I see you commenting there. Yeah, I guess my bet does indicate more of a blowout than or not a blowout, but a high scoring Chiefs game, I guess.
True. But I mean, you definitely want Marcus to win unless you take my bets. Then you want me to win the competition.
But everything that I said was great on Marcus's half was, what I was saying about being a shootout. It's going to be, you're going to get a lot of yards from the offensive side of the ball, right? Kansas City's going to win. PM15 over 3 touchdowns passing, 208 yards passing on. I do believe that. 13 yards for Pacheco and more. Absolutely. Only one I had was the Etienne is the one I think is going to be a little touchy for me, just kind of looking at it. So
if you like, essentially, if you guys liked my bet, just do the first four, and then don't scrap the ATM rusher.
There you go. Yeah. Exchange that for Pacheco carries.
It is interesting though, because I'm looking at it now on DraftKings. I always try to look at different betting apps, but for Mahomes to throw over 2.5, so 3 touchdowns plus, it's plus 124, which is a lot of juice for that. It's like, well,
He's 3 touchdowns.
But I mean, I think we went over that. The numbers suggest that this is what he does after a loss.
I hear you, but it's still 3 touchdowns in a very sloppy week 1 of the NFL, where a lot of teams did not look like they were ready to go full on like shootout mode. I mean, hopefully this week's different, but
last night's second half would indicate so. At least on the Minnesota end.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys, what I'll do is I'll post my betting slip. So if you guys want to tail that, go for it. Well, I'll post that on Twitter and on our YouTube post page. So I'll be able to post that. And I'll post Teja's as well. Teja, send me the bet slips, and I'll post both of them.
I will.
All right, guys. Well, it was great to have this show. I know it's a different kind of show for us, but I love being able to decipher the fantasy aspect and the betting aspect with a player's perspective, and to be able to like look at this and tell us what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. It's amazing. You got these schmoes on TV who don't know a lick about ball, and they're saying, "Oh, you need to do this. 4 catches here, 4 catches there," and like we get JD telling us the real analysis there. So I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm looking at it that is, sometimes the bets. Because I'm looking at, I'm like, did they read my mind? They already know like where I'm sitting at on some of these things. That's why Vegas is so good, right? With the numbers. They really are. Just kind of putting these things out. But yeah, man. This is gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a great game on Sunday. Great game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's probably the game of the week. And I'll say that it's the highest scoring game of the week as far as their point total. And I just think it's interesting that it's a 1:00 game. I mean, I think we have a lot of prime time games. This should be one of the primetime games. I know. I don't understand. It was the playoff game last year, and there's a lot of stars in this game. I don't know. It's interesting that it wasn't the primetime game.
Especially if you want to build up Lawrence to become one of the faces.
True.
Yeah.
It would have been a good opportunity to do that, but.
Well, but Teja, this is what I was talking about. I think it's what everybody's kind of, Lawrence's afterthought, right? They waiting for him to come a little bit. I think he's right up there with them. I really do. I think he's right up there with Herbert, Burrow, and Allen. I really do. So,
yeah, I know what I mean. For the NFL, it's a good problem to have, right? They have a bunch of guys that can be the faces of the league, but we have the face of the league,
right? For sure, that's for sure.
All right, guys. Again, so that'll do it for the Cash and Props with Dunn and Dash. The first ever episode of this. We'll be doing this every Friday for the rest of the season. And again, for those of you guys who are listening, go to the Pickit app. That's PIKKIT. Use promo code Chiefs. You either get $3 or $100 if you link your betting account to Pickit. And then, you'll get Venmo or PayPal, whatever you prefer, to get your $3 or $100. When I signed up, I got $3, but maybe you'll be the lucky $100 winner. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys post game after the game on Sunday.
Yep.
Good, definitely, man. I'm gonna go see some good high school football right now. Time to some things. Yeah.
My nephew has a bye week, JD, so I'm off.
I have, when my son played is literally half a mile down the street, so I can hear him cheering right now. So I'm gonna head over there. Go check some things out.
Enjoy that. Good luck.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, JD. Love you, brother.
Hey, love you too. All right, Teja, good seeing you, brother. All right,
you too, man. See you on Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.